Welcome to the Great Lakes Divide live stream here on YouTube. I'm your host, Adam Biggers. You can follow me on Twitter at AdamBiggers81. You can follow Great Lakes Divide on Twitter at GL Divide. And don't forget to like us on Facebook at Great Lakes Divide. Going to recap Maryland a little bit, go over the stats. Yesterday I did a live video from the field. I didn't get too in depth. It was about to rain. Obviously, the lightning, the weather, there was lightning in particular, caused a 1 hour delay on kickoff. So didn't get too in depth. That's what today's going to be for. So before I get into the live chat, we'll go over topics, injury updates, statistics, everything along those lines. But before we do that, I want to tweet out the live link. Hopefully everybody's enjoying their Sunday. If you're a Detroit Lions fan, you're probably pretty happy right now. So okay, got that tweeted out. Anybody in the doesn't look like anybody's in the live chat yet. So I'll wait for 1 second, but I do want to drop this link in. Thought it was kind of interesting with Michigan. People who do this for a little bit and that are, you're there all the time and you hear the same stuff, right? I mean, it's constant. The talk about improvement, the talk about this. And I mean, it seems like the same week, there's always, a lot of the same type of questions because, I mean, not a lot changes. But every now and then, trying to dig beyond just the regular stuff. And I guess I try to all the time. Found out that the defense has a secret mantra. It's real personal. They don't talk about it. I barely got any details out of Khalid Hudson and Devin Bush, and those guys are usually pretty open with me, Devin in particular. So I want to drop the link to this article in here right now. Check it out. It's on greatlakesdivide.squarespace.com. Go over the stats. There's a few people in here already, so someone wants to come up with a question. We've seen, I will say this, the key, Michigan's 42-21 win over Maryland. Well, the key for Maryland was going to be to run the ball well. And the Terps actually ran the ball for a season high against Michigan, 147 yards, but didn't do a whole lot of damage as far as, Pigram got 63 yards. Fleet Davis got 63, but McFarland and John, and that was later in the game. McFarland and Johnson were the two big ones. And Ty Johnson and Anthony McFarland, both coming off of 100-yard games against Minnesota. Anthony McFarland rushed for 34 yards. Ty Johnson rushed for 3. He did have that 98-yard kickoff return, though, which after he took about 4 steps, I knew that he was gone. So I saw a comment, yes, Michigan, it's a night game day against Wisconsin. Second place in the East, Wolverines, versus the first place in the West, Badgers. That's going to be a big game, certainly. So Matt Crittenden says, afternoon, everybody. Hey, Matt, how's it going? Anybody have any topics that they want to discuss? I don't like just going over the stats, but I feel like it's kind of important. Shea Patterson, and guys, I mentioned this yesterday during my post-game video from Michigan Stadium. If you don't think Shea's the guy for Michigan, then you are just I can't talk to you. He had a career high at Michigan, 282 passing yards. Would have been over 300 if not for a penalty. Shea's in full control. He has been. The one interception wasn't his fault. 19 of 27. I believe that's the most passes he's thrown all year. I'm trying to think. Because he had 24 attempts against Northwestern, 22 against Nebraska, 18 against SMU, 17 against Western, and 30. He was the second highest total of the season. Season high 30 against Notre Dame, and he had 27 attempts against Maryland. So Shea is throwing the ball. The offense is opening up. It's a broken record. We talk about this all the time, particularly in here. So we will get to the injury updates. Want to talk about your guys' players of the game and encourage you, if you haven't already, get involved in the super chat. We're not doing the subscription format. Basically, what you could do is just comment in here, and you can toss a couple bucks or whatever you have extra in your electronic account, PayPal, whatever it is. Contribute to the super chat. It is much appreciated. Here Comes Trouble says, impressed more and more each week by the offensive line. Matt Crittenden says the Notre Dame loss isn't looking as bad, eh? Not at all. I didn't think it was a bad loss, period, Matt. But no, it is not. It's not looking bad at all. Notre Dame looks legit. And if you look at Michigan, I talked about this last week. I got, laughs from a few people, Spartans fans in particular, when I suggested that Michigan was the best one-loss team in the country. You could look at Penn State, but there's statistics pointing toward Michigan. Penn State had the slightly better strength of schedule at number 3 when I looked, and Michigan number 9, but Michigan's balanced, total defense. We've seen Michigan's the real deal, guys. I think Michigan is a good team, and I don't really see a lot to complain about with the Wolverines. I mean, there are penalties that are here and there. Penalties are part of football, but they had 6. Yeah, 2 of them, brought back touchdowns, but at the end of the day, what it's boiling down to is Michigan's offensive line's getting better. They are playing better football. You get in the groove, all that sort of thing. I mean, 6 games in the season, now you're going to start seeing, really what Michigan is made of. And this upcoming stretch of Wisconsin, Michigan State, Penn State is really going to define the season, I think. So Cameron Snyder says, I know it didn't hurt Michigan as bad, but what's up with another phantom hold on a running back? I don't know. I don't know. I can't answer that question for you, Cameron. Those the penalty, that was on True Will, and True Wilson, by the way, guys. I retweeted this video. He's out there like a little tank. He's named after True, the No Limit rap group. If you guys are old like me, you remember that, mid to late 90s. And he was like the No Limit tank going through there, blocking for Shea, leveled the linebacker, got back up to give him blocking at the second level, succeeded there, and even got up to try to block again. So, I mean, True Wilson, and I've said this time and time again, no longer the walk-on turned scholarship guy. Don't look at him like he's a feel-good story. True Wilson's a legit running back, and he proved it. And he got some action. Chris Evans dressed, participated in warm-ups, but he did not play. So nothing new on Chris Evans. We could get into injuries when you guys want to. I have some updates on everybody. Robert Protzman says Michigan is an 8-point favorite to open against Wisconsin. Matt Crittenden said that line should change. Michael Loreno says, in your opinion, how does Michigan come out of the next 3 games record? 2-1. Darkman 1212 says, what's going on, Adam? And I'm really starting to rethink. I'm really starting to think that Michigan State, maybe 3-0, but I'm really starting to rethink Michigan State. Michigan State just doesn't look good right now. It seems like there's some leadership problems. Joe Bacci, their linebacker, star linebacker, was talking about if you don't want to lead, then you got to get out of the way because the train's going to move on. Dave Warner, the offensive coordinator, accepting responsibility, saying that they're not getting the job done, yada, yada, yada. So, I mean, Penn State looks good. I would say Michigan beats Wisconsin. I think Michigan 2 or 3. They're going to win 2 or 3, if not all 3. And, I mean, I don't want to discount the Spartans totally yet because it is at Michigan State. And during these rivalry games, anything can happen. Throw stats out the window. But, I mean, just eye test right now, Michigan looks like the much stronger team than Michigan State. So I would not be surprised if Michigan won each of these next 3 games. And again, guys, I was saying 10-2 was a ceiling for this team. 9-3 was reasonable. They are playing like they had the potential to reach 10-2. So Cameron Snyder says the Michigan State game will be close, especially if they lose next week because they will be fired up. Michael Loreno says losing to who? Penn State. If there's a loss, I mean, I would think that it'd be Penn State. That's a home, but again, that's a home game. The only reason why I was even entertaining the thought of Michigan State is because it's on the road, and Michigan State's won 8 of the past 11. So, I mean, it's like I said, Michigan is playing like a team that has potential to go 10-2. And right now, I think any naysayers, and guys, like the tweets in the first quarter. I mean, Michigan's first 3 drives, they get a field goal on the 3rd drive. They had 3 drives in the first quarter, and I get it. But it's not, and Karan Higdon said it best. Just because they're not scoring on their first or second drive doesn't mean that they're coming out slow or they're not, playing good football. I mean, sometimes things take time a little bit, and I mean, they're not just going to go out and put points up on the board every single first drive. Yes, you want to see, if you're a Michigan fan, you want to see Michigan score more than 3 points in the first quarter. But I mean, this is a defense that and I said this in the post-game video yesterday, this is a defense that can control the tempo of a game. Maybe, and even if it gets in a hole, I mean, we saw against Northwestern. And what does that Northwestern win look like? I mean, there's so many things to talk about right now. This is a really interesting part of the season when you start being able to really compare. Okay, well, this team played this team. What can it do against so on and so forth? I remember talking with Ryan Schuling, my partner at Great Lakes Divide, during our podcast about how Michigan Northwestern and how to look at Michigan State Northwestern. And I told him, I said, well, Clayton Thorson started out 7 for 7 against Michigan. If Clayton Thorson gets warmed up and he's allowed to attack Michigan State secondary with success, it's going to be a long day for the Spartans. I saw a close game, but I mean, long day in terms of having to deal with Thorson. And that's exactly what Thorson did. He attacked Michigan State secondary. Clayton Thorson was pretty good yesterday. Isaac Gogol says, do you also wish Michigan played in a more exciting offense? I think they're excited. I think their offense is exciting, Isaac. We're seeing a lot of new play calling. They're throwing the ball down the field. Again, I don't get this criticism. Michigan's a boring team. All this other, I don't get it. Greg Bryan says, how much did I miss? Greg, just 11 minutes in, so you didn't miss much. Where would this defense be without Chase Winovich? Michael Loreno asks. I mean, it'd still be good, but yeah, Chase Winovich certainly linchpin of this defense this season. I don't think there's any question about it. If you have to mention a defensive MVP right now at the moment, I mean, I would say that Chase Winovich is in there as the top. I would say that Devin Bush deserves consideration. I would also say Brandon Watson has had a really good year. And again, nobody's really talking. He had the pick 6 yesterday. I mean, Josh Metellus, there's a lot of guys who are making plays, but the one constant of Michigan's defense, the one constant, that's Chase Winovich. So yeah, I agree with that. Isaac Gogol says, okay, you guys are having a conversation. Isaac says, bruh, Adam, they is boring me. I don't think Michigan's boring. I mean, and Isaac, are you from, I know that you're a UCF fan. Are you from here? I mean, it's Big Ten football, man. I mean, I'm from Michigan. I grew up here. I grew up watching Michigan and Michigan State. I'm used to Big Ten football. Michigan has incorporated some spread elements. It's not, I don't think Michigan football is boring. I like Big Ten football, and maybe I'm biased because I'm from Michigan, but I like the style of Big Ten football. I don't like the basketball on the football field type of thing, like teams, 48, 45 games and, every single week and, nothing but just pass. I like the grinding style. I like a good running back. I like a good use of a fullback and tight ends. And Michigan does that pretty well. I mean, show me a team that's utilizing the tight ends and fullbacks as much as Michigan. And yeah, it might not be sexy football. It might not be exciting to some people, but I like it. I think Michigan's playing pretty good football. Dale Terry says, good afternoon. Good afternoon, Dale. He says, go Blue, beat Wisconsin. Isaac Gogol says, Adam, I am a Michigan fan, but you need to watch some Big 12 or AAC. I have. I've watched a ton of football, man. Trust me. And I like Big Ten style of football. I like watching teams like Wisconsin. I like Ohio State football. I like Penn State football. That's exciting football. And I mean, I could see, is Michigan as exciting as Penn State or Ohio State's offense? No. But that's not Michigan football. I think right now the football that Michigan's playing under Jim Harbaugh and has played under Jim Harbaugh, with exception to, we get into the rivalry talk, road loss stuff, I don't see a problem with it. I think it's effective football, and I think it's perfectly tailored for the personnel they have. I mean, I don't know what to say. We'll agree to disagree. I don't think Michigan football is boring. Darkman1212 says, do you know who is going to replace Mike on the defensive line, Mo Nay or Lawrence Marshall? And he's talking about Michael Dwumfor. We don't know exactly what's going on with Michael Dwumfor. He had a shoe off. He rode the cart. At first, I couldn't tell from the box what his injury was. I saw him that he was laying on his back, and then I saw that he moved his head and his upper body, so that was a good sign. But when they brought the cart out, I was like, I wasn't sure exactly what was going on. And we don't hear the same stuff that you guys will hear during the TV broadcast. Sometimes they have people from the sidelines, radioing up to them. So when I saw them that, they get on the cart and everything, it does look like it's some kind of foot ankle issue. So who replaces Michael Dwumfor? Well, Michael wasn't starting. I mean, Brian Monet was already starting. So, but I mean, we're going to, Carlo Kemp's banged up too. Michigan's defensive line's got some is kind of banged up right now. So I mean, imagine we'll see some Donovan Jeter, a little bit more Donovan Jeter in there. We'll see Brian Monet. He's a first and second down guy, but maybe Brian plays a few more downs. But Matt Crittenden says Ben Mason to replace Higdon next year. Any injury updates on the defensive line? Matt, nothing new on Aubrey Solomon. Again, Rashawn Gary, he was held out, shoulder thing, precautionary. Jim Harbaugh said it. I know that there were some people that were slamming Rashawn Gary for not playing. Didn't make sense to me. I thought Kwity Paye has done a pretty good job. So, so Rashawn, the shoulder. I'm assuming that's going to be day to day. I mean, he was questionable for this week, and I'm imagining they want to hold him out a week, get him a little bit healthier for this upcoming stretch. No update on Aubrey Solomon. Carlo Kemp, nothing. Trying to think what else. I believe that's it. I know I'm forgetting someone. Greg Ryan says Aubrey could be back. We haven't heard anything definitive on a return of Aubrey Solomon. Michael Loreno, anything on Tariq? He's out of a boot. I mean, guys, I'd be surprised if we saw him before November. But again, he's seeing the Lions and Packers. He's either meeting with his doctor today or he's already seen his doctor, because earlier this week, Jim Harbaugh said, or it was last week actually, Jim Harbaugh said that Tariq would be seeing his doctor when the Lions and Packers play. So I don't know exactly. That'll be a question I'm sure that if I don't ask it tomorrow, somebody will ask. Matt Crittenden says Ben Mason for president and Supreme Court Justice with a $2 super chat. I appreciate it. Guys, if you want to contribute like Matt, don't be afraid. Any amount is appreciated. Cameron Snyder says both Evans and Gary were probably held out just so they could be healthier against the next three. Yeah, and Cameron, because Chris dressed, he participated in warm-ups. I saw him down there. I was specifically looking for him. There's one guy, though, that we've seen play a lot, and he didn't get in at all. And I'll go as far as who did get in on the offensive line. We didn't see a huge shuffle, but we saw Stuber get in behind Runyon. We saw Filiaga get in behind Bredesen, and we saw Spinellis get in behind Ruiz, Vastardis behind Wainu, and James Hudson behind Juwan Bushell-Beatty. No Jalen Mayfield. So I'm going to ask the question, was there a reason why Jalen Mayfield didn't play? Because Harbaugh said that he'd play all year. Jalen had been a regular when it came in, subbing on the offensive line. So I'm not saying that he's injured. Don't take that away from this, but I'm going to ask why he didn't play. Was there a reason why Jalen Mayfield didn't play? That's one thing I was kind of thinking about yesterday, because he's a guy that you expect to see come in on the offensive line, especially after the way Harbaugh's talked about him all year, saying that he was going to play all year. So Dale Terry said, yeah, how about Tariq Black? Dale, I'd be surprised if he's back before November, honestly. That's just the way I'm thinking. But I'm not a doctor. Again, this doctor appointment that he just had at some point this week or in the past few days is going to determine the course of the season, whether it's just road to recovery and, hopefully he can come back later in the year, or if they're looking like, hey, there's a possibility that Tariq could return within, let's say the next 2 to 4 weeks before November. Like I said, I would be surprised if we saw him back from November. But it has been 6 weeks since his injury. So depending on the severity of it. And again, they didn't tell us. They don't give us details, saying, okay, well, it was a grade so-and-so sprain or, whatever it is. It's basically if we find out on our own and then we ask, Harbaugh will say something, because usually he knows if we ask a question about that, it's that we've already been tipped off or, like in my case, with Jalen Mayfield, if Jalen is injured and anybody who didn't see him play, okay, by deduction. So that kind of stuff. But I mean, usually he doesn't just come out and talk about injuries, and definitely doesn't really get into specifics. Darkman1212 says, I love Ronnie Bell. Guys, yeah, about 3 weeks ago, Ronnie Bell against Western Michigan. I remember writing about that, and Ronnie Bell certainly on the ascent. He's an ascending player, as Jim Harbaugh would say. Jim Harbaugh also earned some street cred yesterday by calling Ronnie Bell my guy. He said, my guy, Ronnie Bell. So that's a hat tip to Jim Harbaugh. Matt Crittenden said, I would imagine Mayfield isn't 100%. And Matt, that's me. Again, we've seen Jalen play, and he's a regular as a backup for the offensive line. So that's a valid question. But again, I am not saying that Jalen Mayfield's injured. I'm just wondering why he didn't play yesterday. Cody Peischer, hey Cody, how's it going? Dwum for out long. I don't know, Cody. I imagine we'll get an update on that tomorrow, but they just said that he was being evaluated. Jim Harbaugh said it during the post-game press conference last night. He said that Carlo Kemp was also being evaluated. Darkman1212 says hopefully DPJ is okay after taking that nasty hit. Yeah, that was a big one. He did come back though, and it looked like that he was going to get back into the game. Dale Terry says that Cameron, I like Bell. He's going to be a monster. And guys, if I missed your comment, don't be afraid to resubmit it. I try to read all of them. MIC Book says, I heard Jalen say something about getting treatment on IG Live. Maybe he's banged up a little bit. That would make sense. That would make sense. Isaac wants to know, who are your playoff predictions? I thought Kentucky had a shot until last night. I don't know. I mean, I think Notre Dame looks like a playoff team right now. I mean, I think Ohio State looks like a playoff team right now. I mean, we could be talking about Penn State or Michigan being a playoff team. I think it's a little early right now as far as predictions, but I mean, I think Notre Dame, Alabama are likely. I mean, Clemson, you know, I think we knew who was going to be pretty good coming this year. I think Notre Dame surprising some people actually. Yeah, Robert Protzman said he came in and got a touchdown 3 plays later. Yeah, how my memory is escaping me. Yeah, DPJ came back in. It's so much sometimes of trying to remember all these little details from everything. Sometimes, you know, something like that will escape me. But that's why you guys are here. I appreciate it. Robert Protzman, Eagle Eye Robert. Any other questions, guys? Any stats? You want to talk about your players of the game? I'll have a live stream tomorrow after the Monday press conference with Jim Harbaugh. We'll talk to some players once they get out of class around 1:15. So I'll have a live stream at some point in the afternoon about that. I'll have some written content as well. Podcast this week at GL Divide on Twitter and at Great Lakes Divide on Facebook. So make sure you guys catch those. Matt Crittenden says Patterson player of the game. And Michael Loreno says McCune seems to be regressing a bit. Isaac Gogol says, who has the hard rest of the season, Bama or Michigan? I believe they are the hardest. And I mean, I haven't looked at Alabama's schedule yet, but I imagine in like week 10 they're going to play Northeast Community College of Tuscaloosa County or something like that. I mean, I think Michigan's got a pretty hard schedule, actually. I mean, you're still looking at first place in the Big Ten West with Wisconsin. You're looking at an East contender in Penn State. Michigan State probably not so much anymore, but that is it's still a rivalry game. I already mentioned Penn State at Ohio State. I mean, that's a pretty rugged schedule to me. Matt Crittenden says, glad they started using Gentry more. Playbook opens up when offensive line gives time. Cameron Snyder says, week 11 for Bama is the hardest opponent of them all, a.k.a. Yeah, exactly. Cameron, I don't know if they're playing the Citadel this year. Like I said, I think it's Northeast Community College of Tuscaloosa County. I'd have to check that schedule. I try to be funny on you. If you're a first-time viewer, I try to be funny. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. I laugh at stuff, so it's okay. And since mentioning Zach Gentry, another career high, this time 7 catches for 112 yards, caught 7 or 8 passes. And I want to say what was his career high? 4 or 5 for 95 yards. Previous career high was 4 or 5 for 95 yards against SMU. So he topped his career high by 17 yards. And he had 3 more catches. So Zach Gentry certainly is emerging as a big-time offensive weapon. And I think that we recognized that last year. Those seam routes with Zach Gentry were pretty good. The Wisconsin game. Dale Terry says if Michigan beats Wisconsin, we're going to the playoffs. Well, I don't know. I mean, they got to beat Michigan State and Penn State. Maybe probably Ohio State. Isaac Gogol says Bama still has LSU, Auburn, Mississippi State, and Citadel. And LSU and Auburn are pretty good. So yeah, I was making a joke about Alabama's schedule, but not saying that they don't play anybody. The SEC is always good, but you know, we don't see a Big Ten team playing, you know, Kennesaw State in week 11. It just, it just doesn't happen. Robert Protzman says the commentators kept saying Nico was the only deep threat on the team. Robert, I mean, these commentators, they don't see him every week and pay as much attention to him as, someone like you or someone who covers them. And I don't hear the broadcast, obviously, because I'm at the game. But, I mean, there are a lot of mistakes made by these national broadcasters. It is kind of funny. Nico Collins is not the only deep threat on this team. I mean, I think Donovan Peoples-Jones is a deep threat. Nico Collins has certainly been I guess the biggest deep threat, but Nick Eubanks is a deep threat. He had 2 20-yard catches last week against Nebraska. There are a couple deep threats. If Tariq Black comes back healthy, he is the deep threat, I think, he and Nico. But, I mean, Zach Gentry can be a deep threat as well. Anybody can be a deep threat when Shea Patterson has that much time behind the offensive line and he's got that cushion in the pocket to where he can read the field and let it fly. Shea's got an arm. Cameron Snyder says Auburn just lost this week 23-9 against Mississippi State. Auburn's still a good team, though. Isaac Gogol says Adam is a deep threat. I go long. I mean, I'm telling you. Tell Shea, drop it in the basket, Shea. I'm ready. I was going to run a 40-yard dash yesterday at Michigan Stadium. I had the field basically to myself, but I was in dress shoes, and I didn't have anybody to clock me. I think, though, Isaac, actually, if I played football, I think I'd be a cornerback. I have good hands. I was an infielder. Good hands, but I don't, and I'm decently fast, but I don't have the height. So I think I'd probably be a cornerback. We'll call Adam Island. Any other questions, guys? And Isaac Gogol. Isaac is a newcomer to the show, so everybody welcome Isaac. He's a big proponent of UCF joining the Big Ten. He is in love with UCF, and he's very opinionated on Scott Frost and Power 5 conferences. So welcome to the group, Isaac. You're part of an exclusive club. Cameron Snyder says Adam Biggers the next Rivas. You got it. And Isaac says hashtag UC Fast. That's fast football. Yes, it is. Any other questions, guys? You want to go over stats? I didn't give you my player of the game. Before, I was asked to predict. I said Karan went over 100 yards, but I mean it's clear Shea was the offensive player of the game. I think though that you can look at Devin Bush and Josh Ross were pretty big. Or Devin Bush was pretty big, not Josh Ross. My bad. Devin Bush was pretty big. Tyree Kinnell had a good game. Kalik had a good game. I mean, Chase only 2 tackles yesterday, something, but I mean, he got a lot of pressure. But I think Devin Bush, Devin Bush and again Brandon Watson, I think were 2 guys. Brandon Watson, maybe that second defensive player of the game, and then we go with Devin. But I mean, there's probably an argument for a lot of guys. This is the number 1 total ranked defense in the country, so I mean, there's going to be a handful of guys every single week who are doing something that is worthy of defensive player of the game. That's why they have the number 1 ranked defense in the country, because they're good. Greg Ryan says, welcome to the group, Isaac. Jay Money says we might lose to Wisconsin. I don't think so, Jay Money. Greg Ryan says Adams' 40 would have been to run away from the rain. You're dang right. And you know what the worst part is? It's like in a dress shirt and slacks, and then you're wearing hard, slippery shoes, and you get caught in the rain. It just sucks. You have no traction. It's not like you're wearing a jacket that can help keep some of the rain off you. I would have ran the fastest. There was actually lightning, so I was actually in the area when I did that. So in a way, I was actually risking personal safety just to give you guys a video from the field. So I'm not saying that I'm a hero or that I went above and beyond, but I am saying that if I got struck by lightning, that would have sucked. So. Yeah, Jay Money, I don't think Michigan loses to Wisconsin. I really don't. No, Wes today said must be busy looking at box scores. Wes, I think, I know yesterday he couldn't watch the game because he had to fix his wife's car. So he said, happy wife, happy life. And that's some great advice from Wes Weber, the official official. We used to say the unofficial, official, unofficial, but Wes has been upgraded. He's official stat keeper of the Great Lakes Divide live stream here on YouTube. Always coming up with the great stats. Cameron Snyder says, I think lightning signifies your speed. I appreciate that, Cameron. I used to be pretty. I will say this. This summer, I coach a collegiate league baseball team, and this summer I had a pinch run at third base for my catcher Ryan Murphy, who Ryan can hit, and he's a great catcher. He's just not real fast. So we needed a tying run. That was me. I remember it was Jack Mulick up at bat, and Jack's at Waldorf in Iowa now, I believe. I got to keep up with these guys, see where they're going after they play at Mott or play here locally. Anyway, Jack hits a little chopper to third, and I wanted to make sure that they weren't going to go to third immediately to keep me on. Instead, a pitcher fields the ball and goes to first, and I cross and I score the tying run, and that was my highlight of the season. But I'll tell you, I have never run that fast in my life. I ran like my life depended on it. And I'm trying to remember who we were playing. Who the heck was that? I think it was the Legends. Legends are pretty good. I don't remember who it was against, but I don't remember ever running that fast in my life. So at 36 years old, I believe I ran the fastest I ever have this past summer. And we won that game. Greg Ryan says, we're going into the tough part of the schedule. Let's not be so anal about analytics. Let's support the program and be positive for once. Bruce McGraw. Hey, Bruce, what's up, man? Said, I have us beating Wisconsin in a low-scoring game. Nyan 20 says, what's up, Adam? Khabib time. Hey, I'm not a big UFC guy, but holy crap. Conor McGregor, champion trash talker. I wonder if we talk to Chase Winovich this week, maybe we'll ask Chase his feelings, because he's he's FaceTime with Conor and is a big fan of Conor McGregor. But yeah, Conor got choked out. It's like the Ronda Rousey thing, right? You become the big star, and the next thing you know, you're losing. So what? Like Ronda got her butt kicked by Holly Holm. What was the girl? Or no, would she beat Holly Holm? All I remember is I saw the fight where Ronda kicked the girl in the face, knocked her out, and then Ronda just lost everything after that. So Cameron Snyder says, man, the end of that Khabib fight went crazy. I didn't see the video, but I heard that he like attacked a man in the crowd or something. So again, I don't really follow UFC that much, but it's kind of crazy. Nyan 20 with the $1.99 super chat. I appreciate it. Guys, again, if you want to contribute to the super hat, it'll allow me to buy some more the super chat. It'll allow me to buy some more hats and memorabilia and that kind of stuff. But priorities. That's what I spend my money on, and dog food for my labs. If you can't hear them barking outside. Robert Proxman says he attacked Conor's corner for talking crap after he choked Conor out. Okay. Yeah, I didn't know that. I just saw some tweets saying that he attacked somebody in the crowd, and then a lot of people are now, it's UFC, WWE, this is an embarrassment. But didn't Conor McGregor have an incident where he like threw a dolly at a bus, like through a bus window or something? Am I remembering that correctly? I have some friends who are into UFC, and I'll see like their stuff that they post on Facebook. But Cameron Snyder says, pretty sure he went after Conor's trainer, not positive. And Robert Prossman says, yeah, it was Khabib's bus. So what, did he throw the dolly at Khabib's bus before the fight? Kyle Ralph says, making the long drive from New York to Ann Arbor for Saturday's game. Anybody know where College Game Day usually sets up at UM? Yes. No. Hold on. It's the lot that's just north of the stadium off Hoover, I think. Let me double check that for you. Because this is like the 12th time that they've done. I don't think it's every single time they set up in the same spot, but I think it might be that little lot north of Michigan, if you guys know where Hoover is. Cameron Snyder says, have they announced game day? Because I feel like it'd be Georgia versus LSU. Yes, it is. It's Michigan versus it's Michigan-Wisconsin game day. That was announced today. Jeremy Turner, what's up? Jeremy says, what's good, Biggs? You said you like hip-hop. Check out Lupe Fiasco, Dragas Wave album, more specifically the King Naj track. I definitely will. Yeah, Jeremy, you know that I like hip-hop. I like all sorts. And if you're into hip hop, then you know there's a difference between hip hop and rap. And I like hip hop and I like rap. I like some new rap, not a ton, but I like lyrics. I like lyrics. I was really big into Company Flow back in the '90s, real big, and now he's with Killer Mike. LPs with Killer Mike, Run the Jewels. If you guys like Run the Jewels, they're pretty good. I like lyrics. Cameron Snyder said, okay, yeah, I already answered that. Let's players of the game, guys. I've already seen a few. Who's your defensive player of the game? I'm going Devin Bush. Offensive player of the game, I'm going Shea Patterson. I think that's pretty much a given. If you guys want to let me know, who do you think, who was your player of the game and why? And again, tomorrow I'll have some updates from the press conference. Monday routine, you guys know how it goes. Bruce McGraw says he thinks they set it up, Connor and Khabib, to draw some ratings. I mean, and that's some WWE stuff, right? You know, I mean, and that's why I never got, I had a friend in school. I'm going to get personal here. I won't say his name, but I had a friend in school who was so, and back then it was called WWF, who was so into, you know, pro wrestling and a huge Hulk Hogan fan, huge Ultimate Warrior fan. And I told him, because I had asked my grandpa about it, you know, and I'm like, is it? He told me it was fake. So I went to school and I told my buddy, I'm like, this is fake. This is fake. And he got mad at me. And so we got in like a little shoving match and stuff. And we were in the cafeteria, and you guys know in gym, and you know, it was elementary school, and the gym that's got like the pad, your cafeteria may have been your gym, which was the case for us. So we get into like a little shoving match and stuff. And I barely even pushed the dude. And he goes and like acts like I just knocked him and runs around the cafeteria with his hand on his face. And I'm like, man, you're watching too much WWF. I don't just script it. They're athletic. I'll say that. And you got to be in shape to be able to do that stuff. But I just never got into it because it's fake. Bruce McGraw says Zach Gentry, Shea Patterson were his player of the games. Robert Protzman says Patterson and Watson. Watson's a pretty good pick. And Robert, I mean, you guys, I've been talking about Brandon all year. He's big against Notre Dame. He just keeps, it's like every week he just has a play. And I mean, he's a guy that should be talked about more. Jeremy Turner says Shea Patterson. Shea had been balling this season. Without him, we lose the second game. Shout out to the O-line too. The offensive line was pretty good. Judah, the Cushite Pharaoh, says Patterson and Watson. And my dogs are out there barking. They must see a squirrel or something. I don't know. Or my neighbor's outside and they're summoning her over to give them treats. They have my neighbor trained, and they have me trained. So I guess they're pretty smart dogs. Robert Protzman says not a problem with it being fake. It's scripted, but so isn't a TV show. It's sports TV, basically. No, yeah, I agree. And I'm not, I mean, those guys are athletic. I mean, a lot of former athletes, you know, I mean, we see a lot of guys, you know, who were former athletes. You can't just be, one day decide, hey, I think I want to do, you got to be pretty athletic. You got to be in great shape. I mean, it's definitely tough work. And I mean, they get hurt. I mean, but I'm just saying, you know, I mean, it's dramatized, and, you know, the chairs slamming over their heads and everything like that, made out of tinfoil, basically. I mean, it's sports entertainment. I agree with you, Robert. And I'm not opposed to it. Every now and then, I'll my buddy Sean Brown, former coach at Mott Baseball, he's huge. He's a big Ric Flair fan. Yeah, baby. That's what he says. That's his catchphrase. Yeah, baby. Woo. And he'll have WrestleMania and stuff like that. So sometimes I'll pop over there. He's got, you know, a 80 million inch TV and have a bunch of guys over there and watch it. And, you know, they get into it. It's okay. You know, I mean, I'm not going to, it's entertaining, but I can't really tell you who's who. I probably know the name of like 5 guys. B Strongism says Ben Mason wants all the smoke. Ben Mason with a hurdle move. These guys, you should have just saw the reaction in the press box where people are like, wow, you know, and the fans obviously, and then we asked the players after it, and Cesar Ruiz had mentioned that they saw it in his high school highlight tape. He said he hadn't seen it since then. He saw it out of the corner of his eye, and they're like, wow, Ben Mason. I mean, because Ben's 6'3", 242 pounds. I mean, You know, he's a blocky dude. He's the power. He's a fullback. Ben's turning into a tailback. He's a hybrid fullback tailback. Had a catch out of the backfield as well. Ben Mason becoming a complete player. And speaking of Wes Weber has posed the question: is Ben Mason an elite fullback? I think that's good. I think it's a good question. We got to start thinking about it. Look, he learned from two really good ones, right? Hank Poggi and Khalid Hill. And Khalid Hill, if you follow Khalid on Twitter, is a big fan of Ben Mason. Big fan. Jeremy Turner says Ben Mason helps set the tone. Yes, he does. Cameron Snyder says, can Ben Mason be like Peyton Hillis and line him up more as a halfback? Absolutely. And they have, Cameron. They've used him. They've used him as a tailback. I think Ben Mason might be, and I don't go too far on a limb here, but, and even for me, maybe I didn't give Ben Mason enough credit for his athleticism. And I didn't think that he was unathletic. They're all athletes, right? They're all athletic. But when we think of, like, super athlete, Ambry, DPJ, those guys that, Jabril was real athletic, Khalid, Devin, that just with the speed and flashy, you don't think of Ben Mason in that light. But that hurdle, anybody who can do that, I think you gotta give a nod of respect to. And I think that Ben Mason is proving, when people, the emphasis on the fullback. Why does Michigan emphasize fullbacks? Well, that's why. When you have a guy like Ben Mason, you emphasize the hell out of that. Bruce McGraw says, you think there should be an 8-team college playoff? You think a team like UCF can make the college playoff if they remain undefeated? And Isaac, if Isaac's still in here, yeah, I am a proponent of an 8-team college football playoff. I do think that it would, especially last year, give it a program like UCF an opportunity to compete for a national championship. I don't like the 4-team playoff. Yeah, I do like the 8-team playoff. But then, we get in, okay, well, why not 16? And why not expand it? I know Jim Harbaugh wants to see like a 16 team playoff. He's not opposed to that. I think an 8-team playoff, I think a 16-team playoff is a little bit overkill. I think an 8-team playoff will give us, because there's better than 4 real good teams in college football usually every year, right? So an 8-team playoff would allow that to play itself out. So yeah, I'm in favor of an 8-team, absolutely. 9-20, any update on Black? Tariq, like I said, he saw his doctor either today or maybe he's seen today. It was a week of Lions and Packers. We didn't get a specific time, but Jim Harbaugh did say that he'd meet with a doctor, and he was specific about that. And there's a lot of that's why, there's optimism for return this year. I do think we'll see Tariq back at some point. I just don't know exactly when. And again, when this happened, you guys watch out for the clickbait artists and the people who are the insiders. And Tariq Black was out for the year, remember? Well, he's not out for the year. And I'd be surprised if we saw him back before November. But, this is a critical stretch, too. So we're going to see him back against Wisconsin? No. Let's just go hypothetical here. Let's say Tariq, doctor's point, everything checks out. Feet are fine. Everything's good. I would have to believe that they'd want him back full practice at least for a couple weeks. Because as far as I know, he hasn't practiced. He's ran on a treadmill. He's out of a boot. He's been jogging, but no football activity practice as far as I know. So my best guess would be at least a week or two of practice to get him back in, back up the game speed and everything like that. So like I said, I'd be surprised if we saw him back from November. But do we see him against maybe Penn State? I don't know. I think he's coming back. I don't think there's a question about that. The question is when. And again, this doctor appointment is what's going to determine the rest of the Tariq Black's season. And you hate to say it, but Tariq Black, another foot injury like that. And that's jeopardizing your career. He's already had both feet have been broken. So Robert Protzman says, I thought that was kind of the point of the playoffs, so lower teams can get in. Boise State in the end of the 2000s went like 52-2 in like 3-4 years and never played for the title. Exactly. Cameron Snyder says, I think Black can come back after the bye against Penn State. Jeet says, LOL, did y'all know that MSU is first in rush defense, but 123rd in pass defense? Yes, that's true. Wes Weber put it best the other week. The ultimate Jekyll and Hyde defense. Number one, again, you're not running the ball against Michigan State. but go ahead and throw that thing because you can. Jeet says starting safety Scott Nelson out first half next week. From Wisconsin. And what is it? Target? Is that Target? I mean, I'm assuming it was like a targeting. I don't know. I didn't catch specifics on that. Bruce Gross says looking forward to Michigan playing MSU. Think it will be a sloppy game. Cameron Snyder says, didn't Northwestern have negative rushing yards against Michigan State, or did they? Yeah, they had like 8. They had like 8 or 9 yards against Michigan State. And Jeet says, yes, targeting Scott Nelson. So Scott, thanks for the update, Jeet. Scott Nelson, starting safety for Wisconsin, out the first half against Michigan due to a targeting. Jeet says he kind of got exposed too. Martinez had 384 yards passing. Yeah, that's it. And let's go over to bring it up real quick. I'm on Big Ten scoreboard, guys. Ohio State 46-29 over Indiana. Michigan 42-21 over Maryland. Wisconsin 41-24 over Nebraska. And as Jeeds mentioned, 384 yards from quarterback Adrian Martinez. Northwestern 29-19 over Michigan State. Illinois 38-17 over Rutgers. Iowa 48-31 over Minnesota. And that was a big game, I think, in the West. We're going to see the West kind of determine itself a little bit earlier than the East. So, I mean, you got to look at Iowa and Wisconsin as the teams to beat in the West, without a doubt. Robert Protzman says, Shea might light up MSU. Also hit on DPJ's Bush League. Agreed and agreed. Jeet says, Dakota Dixon was also hurt, but he's probably fine. Bruce McGraw says, don't see Michigan State being Penn State. I don't either. I do not either. Cameron Snyder says, I feel bad for Indiana. Solid team, but in the East, it's hard. They could be second or third in the West. Yeah, and I mean, and look, we've seen Indiana for the past 3 years, I think. You know, at least 2 years. I mean, they gave Michigan State a run on the road. They gave Michigan a run. I mean, Indiana football is not my Indiana football that, you know, I grew up watching Indiana never being really good and big, never being rough. Indiana is up and coming. I'll give you that. I agree. Jeed says, I think Nebraska will take over the East within the next 5 years. You mean the West? I don't know. I mean, it sounds like it's some turmoil going on. I listen to Scott Frost on these conference calls, and he does not sound he doesn't sound confident. I mean, at least Chris Ash will come on there and he's like, you know, we got to improve and everything. And I mean, he knows the score. It's Rutgers, but you talk to ask Scott Frost a question or even listen to him ask questions. He seems like just down. His tone of voice. Cameron Snyder says, greatest story was when Lee Corso stopped the game against Ohio State to take a picture since they were in the lead. Robert Protzman says, going to the Indiana game this year could be a good one. Michigan could be looking ahead to OSU too much. I agree, Robert. And Greg Graham, thanks a lot. 99-cent super chat. Guys, you could be like Greg. Drop a super chat in there. Nyan 20 also. Appreciate it, guys. Every little bit helps. Any fight, guys? We're going on 49 minutes. Any final questions? You guys even want the stats against Maryland? 6 penalties for 52 yards. 2 of those penalties negated touchdowns. But one of those penalties obviously was a phantom, so 5 penalties, maybe 5 legit penalties. First holding call on Michigan's defensive line this year as well. Michigan only faced 1 4th down yesterday. It was 4-4 in the red zone as well. I remember when we were talking about Michigan's red zone woes. That's no longer a discussion, I think. The offensive line is also improving. I mean, when I say Michigan is a good team, I'm not telling, because I know you guys are Michigan fans, I'm not telling you what I think you want to hear. I'm telling you what I see and what I think. And I don't think that a lot of people, I think after this win over Maryland, maybe now people will say, okay, can we talk about Michigan as being the best one-loss team in the country? There's stats that are there. And I believe that Michigan deserves. Again, if it's not Michigan or Penn State, I mean, it's not Washington, it's not Miami. And those are good teams, but I mean, I think Michigan and Penn State, and with number 1 defense, the balance that Michigan has, strength of schedule, I think Michigan's a pretty good team. Wes Weber makes an appearance. I appreciate it. He says, sorry, I missed this one. Posting stats now. Well, Isaac Gogol called it. He said, where's Wes Weber? He's probably looking at box scores. You get your wife's car fixed, Wes. Hopefully, I relayed your message. Happy wife, happy life. So Wes got his wife's car fixed and was allowed to watch football today and join the live chat. So I appreciate it. Unfortunately, Wes, you came in right at the end. So if I missed your question, if you have any lingering comments or anything like that, don't be afraid to tweet me at AdamBiggers81. I try to reply to all tweets unless they're stupid. If they are stupid, then sometimes I will repeat. I will retweet with a comment because I have trouble believing that some people believe what they tweet, but I don't know. Maybe I'm just too stuck on logic. Maybe I need to let my emotions dictate how I feel a little bit more. But when it comes to Michigan football, guys, I think that we're looking at a pretty solid team. So if you have something constructive you want to ask me about Michigan football, go ahead. It's funny. I got some tweets out from the Michigan State crowd, and because I said, well, how does Michigan's win over Northwestern look now? Because Michigan State fans were calling that a bad loss. I mean, a bad win. You would think Michigan lost that game. Calling it a bad win. There's no such thing as a bad win in my book. And I don't think there's any, especially when it's on the road in conference. I don't think any team or coach is going to say, you know what, that was a bad win. Not going to happen. So I just posed that question on Twitter, and then Michigan State fans said, well, that's two bad teams that played, Michigan State and Northwestern. Michigan State fans acknowledging that Michigan State was bad, but calling Northwestern a bad team. But before Michigan State lost to Northwestern, I feel like Michigan State fans are saying, hey, watch out, this is a Northwestern team, it's underrated, blah, 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 can do so. But you lose Northwestern, then it's a bad team. That's where I can't get into the fan logic, Take off your green and white goggles, your maize and blue goggles, look at the numbers, and form an opinion from there. That's what I try to do. Cameron Center says, last time I checked, a win's a win. Me too, Cameron. Jeed says, Lenny said Northwestern was a high school team. Oh, really? Well, then Michigan State got beat by a high school team? And then a high school team got up 17-0 on Michigan? I don't know. I like Valeni. I think he's good at what he does. He's fiery. He's opinionated. But, I mean, guys, a lot of talk radio stuff, they got to fill 3 hours, however long their block is with the commercials and everything like that. They got to fill it with the discussion that keeps people listening. So maybe they just say things because they got to get people to call. I mean, I'm not saying that Mike Valeni doesn't believe what he says. He's a Michigan State fan. He's passionate. He's knowledgeable. But to call Northwestern a high school team seems like that's a fanboy jab. And was this before or after Michigan State lost? Because I don't listen to Valeni. Jeed says we need a Valeni on the radio, but for Michigan. Cameron Center says, I mean, you've got to keep it interesting for sports talk. You have to have bold thoughts that will fire people up. Yeah, I get that, Cameron. Definitely. And there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, nothing at all. But sometimes there's a difference, I think, between a bold opinion and then we get into this hot take stuff to where it's just, I mean, the Skip Bayless stuff, the Colin Cowherd stuff. And sometimes those guys are, I mean, they're good. They've had long careers. They know what they're talking about, but do they believe what they're talking about? Pete Feinbaum for going back after Harbaugh. How many times are they going to flip-flop on Jim Harbaugh? That's what I'm saying. It's like one week he's underrated, next week he's, hey, Jim Harbaugh sucks. It's that I just don't. If it's a bold opinion and you have some stuff to back it up, I'll say that. But it's hot fanboy type of stuff. Well, that's calling Northwestern a high school team. That's what that is. Robert Protzman says Michigan is now favored by 6.5. Line is steadily moving. Harbaugh gets views and reactions, says Robert, and that's true. That is very true. I don't want to sit here and be boring to you guys and say we can only talk about stats and no opinions matter. I mean, I have opinions too, but I mean, I like to. A good opinion is based in some type of factual information. A hot take is just spouting off, Jeed says D'Antonio 16-15 in the last 31 games. That isn't being talked about, and that's true, Jeeds. That's true. And I think I think I'll say Michigan State's offense has not been the same since Don Treadwell left. I'll say that. Any other questions, guys? We're going on. We're at 55:05. I think it's a good time. That's a nice round number. Good time to shut down the show. I appreciate you guys for watching. Again, I want to thank our title sponsor, Federal Williams. Visit federalwilliams.com for all of your realty needs, whether you're buying or selling in the state of Michigan. Contact Mike Williams, federalwilliams.com. You can search by zip code. You can search by neighborhood, city, whether in Ann Arbor, East Lansing, Grand Rapids, Traverse City, Flint, wherever you're at, Mike Williams can help you. Again, federalwilliams.com. And I want to thank everybody again for watching. I appreciate it. Thanks to those who contributed in the super chat. Follow me on Twitter at AdamBiggers81. Follow Great Lakes Divide at GL Divide on Twitter and on Facebook. Like our Facebook page, Great Lakes Divide. I'll have updates from Jim Harbaugh's press conference tomorrow, player interview. Last week I wasn't able to get down there Tuesday and Wednesday like I planned. I'll be able to do that this week. And thank you. Keep supporting the show. Check out the website, greatlakesdivide.squarespace.com. Let me drop in this article again about the secret of Michigan's defense. And I got to find out what it is. Didn't get too many details on it, but this article that I wrote is about probably the most detailed information that we're going to get. So unless it's a secret thing and it's been handed down. So give it a read and check out 9on20 wants to know Indiana versus Houston. Who you got? I don't even know. Nyan. I'll go Indiana. Bruce McGraw says, have a good one, Adam. Enjoy your chats. Appreciated watching. Bruce Cameron Snyder says, have a great day, Adam. You too. Gene says, thanks, Adam. Wes Weber. Hey, Wes, how's it going? Stats posted. Everybody follow Wes Weber on Twitter, Wesley Weber Jr., and that's just JR, not Jr. spelled out. Wesley Weber Jr. Follow him on Twitter. He is the official statistician of the Great Lakes Divide live stream on YouTube, powered by federalwilliams.com. Sounded really official right there, didn't it? Hey, guys, thanks for watching. I really appreciate it. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday. Good luck tackling the week. Monday, my least favorite day of the week, but we do start the cycle back up again with the Jim Harbaugh Monday press conference. So I'll have everything you guys need to know from the press conference tomorrow. A bunch of written content. I still have that feature on the scout team coming up. I'm working on that as well. And any updates that we happen to get on Rashawn Gary, Chris Evans, injury updates. So Rashawn Gary, Chris Evans, obviously we're on Tariq Blackwatch, Carlo Kemp, Michael Dwumfor, here in Aubrey Solomon. So right there, that's 6 guys. Jalen Mayfield. And Wes, if you didn't catch in the beginning, I noticed that Jalen Mayfield did not play on the offensive line. I think it was, who was it, Robert? Someone mentioned that they saw on Instagram that Jalen mentioned that he was getting treatment. So I'm going to ask that question tomorrow, why Jalen Mayfield didn't play. So, you're talking about Cleveland versus, I mean, Houston's already up to, Astros are already up to 2-0, right? I liked Cleveland. I knew from the beginning of the season, I've known for the past 3 years that the Indians were going to win the Central Division. They ran away with it this year. Oh, it's 2-1. I'm not watching as much baseball as I'd like because with football season and everything. But yeah, I know Kluber versus Verlander in Game 1. I mean, you're looking at 2 Cy Young guys right there. And Justin Verlander, real quick, you got to be happy for him. I know a lot of Tigers fans. I'm a Tigers fan. A lot of Tigers fans were upset when go get yours, Justin. He was here. It was because of Justin Verlander and Miggy and a couple other guys. But Justin Verlander, was the face of a franchise for 10 years, made Tigers baseball relevant again. So I'm happy to see Justin Verlander and go have success in the Houston Astros. Man, you want to talk about an organization from farm level up. I mean, just development. Very smart front office there when it comes to trades, except for getting rid of J.D. Martinez, but they've kind of reloaded there. But Houston Astros, that is a top-notch organization right now. So, hey, guys, thanks for watching. I appreciate it. I'll catch you tomorrow. Again, follow me on Twitter at AdamBiggers81. I'm going to go dive into some stats and get some stuff ready for tomorrow. So, appreciate you watching. Have a good rest of your Sunday.